Good evening. It is Tuesday, January 11th, 2022. Happy New Year. Again. Or still. Somehow this year looks a lot like last year. We expect so much from a new year, and yet we keep dragging so much of the previous year into it. Jesus told a parable about new things and old things, and about how sometimes it's not advisable to mix them together too well. In Matthew chapter 9, verses 14 to 17, and again, I'm reading from the New Living Translation, second edition. It says, "One day the disciples of John the Baptist came to Jesus and asked him, 'Why don't your disciples fast like we and the Pharisees do?' Jesus replied, 'Do wedding guests mourn while celebrating with the groom? Of course not. But someday the groom will be taken away from them, and then they'll fast. Besides, who would patch old clothing with new cloth? For the new patch would shrink and rip away from the old cloth, leaving an even bigger tear than before. And no one puts new wine into old wineskins, for the old skins would burst from the pressure, spilling the wine and ruining the skins. New wine is stored in new wineskins, so both are preserved.'" You know, John's disciples came up with a pretty decent question. Hey, we notice that we fast on all of the special important days, and your disciples not so much. They kind of got the impression of your disciples being gluttons and going to parties all the time and having dinner with everybody. How come we do the hard work of fasting and your guys don't? It's a good question. It's a reasonable question. Besides, look who they're following. John the Baptist, Mr. Locusts and Honey diet himself. If that was what I had to eat, I think I'd fast some meals too. But you almost get the feeling like there's just a little bit of a whine mixed in there of, your guys don't work so hard as we do. Whine, whine. Maybe. So Jesus tells them a story. And he doesn't tell them a story that's going to hurt them. He just brings a little light into the subject. Talks about bridegrooms. He says, hey, when it's the wedding time, we're all going to party and have a good time. And everybody's going to enjoy themselves, and no one's fasting during the wedding party. It's when it's over. And the bridegroom's gone off with his bride, and they're having their honeymoon fun. Guess what the rest of the family gets to do? Knuckle down and do the cleanup work. And that's when we do with ours, when we have to do all the work that they've skipped out on. Well, then he mentioned new cloth on an old garment. Now, in those days, most of their cloth was linen from flax, and it shrunk every time you washed it. And so if you had an old garment that you'd worn for a while and you'd worn a hole in it and you needed to patch it, you wouldn't use a new patch on it, because as soon as you washed it, that new patch would shrink up and tear it worse than it was before. And so you'd always keep some old cloth around for making those kind of patches. Then he mentioned the wineskins. Now, the wineskins start out with take one sheep or goat and remove its skin. They don't like it much, but you're going to use them for dinner anyway. And you take the skin and you tie holes at the ends of the feet and all the openings, and you fill it full of wine. And the wine expands when it ferments and releases gas when it ferments. And so a new wineskin is still flexible. But after it's been used for a while, that old leather gets hard and brittle. And so you never put new wine into an old wineskin. Otherwise, he says you lose them both. You put new into new. And then Paul comes along and tells us that if any man is in Christ, he is a new creation. The old things are passed away. Behold, all things are now new. We come into a new year and a new life with all kinds of our old life hanging around behind us. And some of that stuff just doesn't fit anymore, doesn't fit very well. And we need to lay aside the old and to embrace the new. It's amazing how beautiful it is when you see someone start enjoying and embracing their new life of freedom in Christ, to be who God created them to be, to let go of the old expectations and old obligations and guilt hung around behind, because now they have freedom in Christ. May 2022 be the year that you truly enjoy your freedom in Jesus Christ. God bless you.